Hello and welcome to episode 4 of the Power Platform Clinic. My name is Duncan Boyne. I am a data and applications analyst working at a manufacturing company, previously a functional consultant, a Microsoft partner, co-founder of the Norfolk Power Platform user group, and we have had our first meeting, which Ian came to and gave a brilliant talk. You'll have to check us out on LinkedIn for upcoming events, and I'll hand you over to Ian.
So, Tweedy, it was a fantastic event. I really enjoyed being there, and thank you very much for having me. Tweedy, I'm a senior technical consultant. I work for a global consultancy firm, and I will, of course, work across the Power Platform. I tend to specialize in the more technical areas of Power Platform and the slightly more geeky bits, shall we say. And that's really what I love. That's really what I enjoy. I've written 6, although actually I believe it's 7 tools. I just need to confirm. I counted them the other day and I counted 7. So 7 tools for the Power Platform. I really should put them all into one place, so it's nice and easy to number them, which is pretty cool. I also run the Newcastle user group, or help run the Newcastle user group with my colleagues, should I say? And yeah, I guess that's me. Should we crack on with our first question, Duncan?
Yes. We managed to avoid your whole list of certificates today. That's a miracle. Wow. That is. I've only got a 50-minute video to do. Can't be wasted on that, can I? Burn. This is a little bit behind the scenes of mine and Ian's relationship, where I'm extremely jealous of all his certificates, and I like to talk.
I'm really tempted to find a slide with them all on now.
Oh yeah, of course.
The one that Paul takes the mick out of all the time.
But yeah, it was an absolute honour to have you there at the first event, and you absolutely smashed it. Thank you so much again. But let's go on with the questions. So, question for you today is: what are the different kind of login options for Power Pages, and how and why would I use them?
That is a really good question, and how shall I best answer this? I think I'm going to jump to a whiteboard.
Talk us through this new bit of kit you've got that you're now about to flash in front of all of us.
Okay, so let's dive into Power Pages and let's see how we can use it. Authentication options. So we've got our Power Pages instance. It helps if I use a pen. I probably should be using purple, shouldn't I? So we've got we've got our Power Pages instance. So it's called that Power Pages instance. Now, out of the box, you can have that in 2 modes. You can have it in public or private, I should say. So when it's public, our little user friend, so if we make a little user, a stick person, our little user friend can, when it's in public, can come into the site and they can look at the pages you've published and they can see what's there. However, when it's in private mode, what's going to happen is they're going to be blocked. There's a wall here. And what that wall is it's Entra ID. So it's saying, just like SharePoint, just like Teams, you must be part of my tenant. Now, that can either be on a B2B guest relationship or as a user in that tenant. But that will say you've got to be part of that tenant. Now, the only reason that's there is so that you can develop your portal in private before you've had it tested or you've done anything else. So you can kind of do your things behind the scenes, and this person here can't go wandering into your portal and have a good look around at all that data that you haven't properly secured yet. That is not an authentication option for your portal. When you spin one up and you see that, it is just almost like a safety feature that you can switch on and off.
Yeah.
It's a wrapper. Probably the best way of thinking about it. So let's have a look at actual authentication options inside our portal. So if we dive across this screen and we go for something like, I don't know if that's the same purple. Someone will probably tell me it's not. But if we look at our Power Pages instance, and we want to log into it. Now, Power Pages is really powerful. It supports this thing called OAuth. It also does a local authentication. Now, what that means is you can do a local authentication to get in. And many people will be familiar with this. They'll send out an invite, someone will click on the link will take them to the portal, they'll get this like registration key, and then they can sign up and sign in. And that all that information, that password, all of that is held inside of Power Pages. However, we can use an external identity provider. So if I move down here a bit, let's use an external identity provider. Now, one of the external identity providers we can use are ones that support OAuth or OIDC, Open ID. But OAuth is kind of like a loose framework. They roughly follow the same rules, but two of the more common ones, or three of the more common ones we see, is Entra.
Mm-hmm.
That's come out really badly. That has previously known as Azure ID. So we see Entra ID, and we'll see this in a moment. And you can log in with that. You'll also see Azure B2C. And you can log in with that. You'll also now see external Entra ID. So external Entra ID is the replacement for Azure B2C. Azure B2C is being depreciated. I haven't yet seen, although it could be out there, I've missed it. I haven't yet seen the path that's going to take you from this one to this one. But I
haven't seen it either.
I have spun up this in the last couple of days, and it looks and feels pretty much the same. It does pretty much the same things. And I suspect the reason why that is because ultimately it's based on this one up here. Both these two are based on the one above. So why does that matter? Well, you can log in with those three options. You can actually have all four options switched on at the same time. We can also log in with other OAuth providers, like it's called X now, but Twitter, Google. Why can I not spell Google? That's mad. LinkedIn. So all of these support OAuth. And you've probably seen this all over the place before, where it says log in with your LinkedIn, log in with your Google account, log in with whatever account it is to get access. Well, that's awesome. That's really cool. And you can configure all that on Power Pages. However, not many people like to do that. What tends to be a more common pattern is that you'll configure Azure B2C to be your main identity access management system. So what we're talking about here is an IAM, Identity Access Management System, and that will be Azure B2C, and that means you've got it all in one place. However, Azure B2C, and this confuses people somewhat slightly, can also support, I get rid of this actually, can also support other OAuth providers. So I could come to Azure B2C with, for instance, LinkedIn. No, I can't. Yeah, try that again. No! There you go. I could come here with LinkedIn, or I could come here with Entra ID. In theory, I could come with any other provider that you want, because this also supports OAuth. So what you're doing is you're getting an OAuth token, and that's going to get you into the party. So you've got it from wherever you're getting these from, and that's going to get you into this party here. And then what's going to happen is once you've got into this party, that's also then going to get you into this party here. So you're able to log in. Now, why is that more common? Why would you configure it to be out here on Azure B2C instead of doing it all on Power Pages? Well, the storage of secrets is one of the reasons why you want to do that, because some of these options mean you have to store secrets inside of your Power Pages instance. Now, because of the way Power Pages lives inside of Dataverse, that means you're storing secrets in plain text in the settings table inside of that. That there's a model-driven app that you can set up with Power Pages that sits behind Power Pages where you put all the settings in and all this thing. Putting secrets in there, that doesn't feel awfully safe to do.
Nope.
The other reason is that by handling it this way, by handling it through Azure B2C or Entra External ID, you have a central place where your IT team can, if they want to, monitor the logs so they can see what's happening. They can see what's going on here and they can watch this and they can add this to their SIEM environment. Something us in Power Platform world don't tend to worry too much about, but they may want to go, hang on a minute, you've got people logging into this very important external portal. We want to just watch that because if something goes wrong or something goes amiss, we want to at least capture what went wrong. And most of the time, we'd like to try and respond to what went wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So there's reason number 2. And the third reason I see with clients why they want it to happen is because actually their Power Pages instance, they have it so every single user that hits Power Pages has to be authenticated. So you try and navigate here, and as soon as you try and navigate into here, it bounces you to here. Now that's quite a common experience. Where else do we see that? Where else do we see that pattern taking place? If you look at SharePoint, you can't get to SharePoint and look at something on SharePoint without being signed in. If I sent you a SharePoint link, you'd get that SharePoint link and you go, okay, cool. The moment you hit it, it's going to bounce you off to Microsoft and say, hey, log in, tell me who you are, before you can see anything. And a lot of clients quite like that. That makes them feel good. So the main 3 reasons why I see this pattern taking place. So you end up handing it off. So we've got these coming down here, and this is the common pattern I see. And from when I was playing with Entra ID earlier this week, I did a walkthrough video, which I think gets published in the next couple of days. That walkthrough video, it basically says that, yeah, Entra ID is broadly the same as B2C.
Mm-hmm.
You can't obviously sign into, external Entra. You can't obviously sign into Entra ID itself with any old account, and you wouldn't really want to put your customers in Entra ID. However, situations where I've seen this take place is if you're a particular type of organization, government bodies, councils, people like that, or you've got sister organizations. Let's say you're I suppose it's the same kind of thing, but let's say you're a big multinational and you've got maybe 10 Entra tenants underneath you. Mm-hmm. Which is a situation I have seen. You may have users from other tenants in your tenant as B2B users. If they're in your tenant as B2B users already, because they're accessing other resources like SharePoint and things like that, you might as well go down this route, Entra ID. And that would make a lot of sense for you. Forget about these. You might as well just go down the Entra ID route. That will make things a lot easier for you. No one's got to have additional passwords. There's no additional setup required. Just, people get straight in. And, in the situation I'm thinking of, that organization used access packages, and that access package provisioned access to all kinds of things. And then one of the things it did, it put them inside a group which gave them access to this particular situation. So that's a high level overview of what your options are. Duncan, have you got any questions for me?
Too many, all of them, none of them. Have you got any visual, how do I put it? Have you got any ways you can actually show this in Power Pages admin or in actual real life?
Let me switch cameras. There we go.
And would you say that they're based really on organizational size or use? How would you say what recommendation you'd give for each of them, the different methods?
So it comes down to who's going to be accessing it. So I've seen situations where only people inside of an organization, so it was a company of 30,000 people, and there was a group of potentially 20,000 people who needed to access this particular system. Maximum concurrent uses was going to be roughly 400 a month. So they all already existed on Office 365. They already had an Entra ID. It would have been silly to give them local IDs, or it'd have been silly to give them Azure B2C, because that's just an additional password for them to lose. That is an additional point of access where someone can breach your system. And if it's tied into Entra, their Entra account 9 times out of 10 is connected to a HR system where that person leaves the firm, their Entra account closes, they no longer have access to this platform. That's what you want. You don't want to have some kind of third action on a situation like that where you go, oh well, we need to close down their account in XYZ because they've left. You want to keep that as central as possible from a security posture point of view. So that's if that's the situation, that's the recommendation. Of course, flip that round. I've seen situations where they've had some people inside their organization and some people outside their organization, as in some people in their Entra tenant, whether they be B2B or internal users, and some people outside. The way to handle that is ideally on Azure B2C. And what happens is, that social login option you have on Azure B2C, you put a button there that just says tenant name login. And you see that, when the Microsoft do their conferences, you see they put a button there that says Microsoft employee login. You click that button and it just, it queries and goes, oh, do you exist in the Microsoft tenant? And none of us do, but if you did, it would go, oh, yes, I know you. There's your login ticket. I'm going to pass these claims back to Azure B2C. Azure B2C goes, fantastic, and then fires you onto the platform you're trying to access. So Azure B2C or external ID, they kind of act as a good middleman, particularly when you've got multiple tenants going on or multiple situations where you've got more than people just coming from one source. So they're very handy, very handy. And of course, you've got that logging aspect. Now, the logging aspect is slightly more complex. Well, it's not complex, but you have to use Lighthouse because, from a SIEM perspective, that Azure B2C tenant is a separate tenant. So you've got to use Azure Lighthouse in order to capture those logs. You can't just capture the logs because you're already in the right tenant.
Interesting. Thank you very much.
You wanted to see this in real life, though, didn't you?
I do. Yes,
So
I bombarded you with too many questions at once. Apologies.
It's fine. Let me share one of my desktop screens. So if I've got websites, and let's have a look at blog. This is a demo gave a couple of weeks back. So within here, we've got site visibility. So it's currently set to private mode. So that's what I was saying. It's currently wrapped in Entra ID. No matter what authentication is taking place at the site level, at the kind of the access level, you have to have an Entra ID in order to hit this at the moment. If I switched it to public, you don't. So that's kind of like that outer wrapper. But once again, you're not logging in to the site. You're logging in to access the server.
So just on that page, sorry, I have one further question. So if it's still in private, can you grant access under that, not set to public, so under that, grant site access, can you give external people up there and still have it on private?
They have to be in your tenant.
Okay.
So B2B, they are technically inside your tenant.
Okay.
I've not tried it on B2B, and I'm sure someone will shoot me down if I say it works, but I would assume it works because most things work with a B2B. But you can invite anyone who's inside your tenant.
Fair.
And then we've got identity providers. So these are the identity providers that you would configure. So if I go back to my other screen, stop sharing, share. So these are the ones that are up here, Power Pages. If you would configure them all on Power Pages, these are the ones here. So on this particular one, I have 3 configured. So if I switch back to that screen, I have 3 configured. So I've got 3 identity providers configured. I've got external Entra ID, I've got Microsoft Entra ID, and I've got login, a local sign-in configured. So this, I'll show you what they look like. So the authentication, I'm just going through at the moment. If you're quite sharp at eyesight, you'll see I'm going through a Microsoft login session at the moment, and that's that outer wrapper because it's in private mode. So let that just complete.
Nice and quick because we're doing a demo, of course. Typical.
Yeah. Need some music, mate. Need some music. And on this particular site, I have a page which is behind the wall, and that's About Us. Now, I haven't bothered to put in links and stuff on this to get me to the About Us page because it's a demo site, but I believe, yeah, it's About Us. That's the URL I need. So I'm just going to go. And it should bring me to a login screen. So it's challenging me, saying, hey, you're not logged in. So it's now saying I can either log in with the Entra or Entra external or username and password. So they're the options it's giving me. Now let's log in with Entra ID and let's see what happens.
Amazing.
So it's logged me in. And I've got this option here called Manage External Authentication. Now, if I click on that, I've actually got 2 external authentications active. So this user in Power Pages is represented as a contact record, and permissions run from that contact record. But I can log in to the same user account using either Microsoft Entra ID or Microsoft Entra External ID. I can't get my head around this external business. Or Microsoft Entra ID, because they're 2 I've got connected. And both times, both these identity providers are returning to Power Pages and saying, hey, look, the user I've just authenticated and you trust me, because that's what you've set up. The user you've just authenticated and you trust me on is ttd@tweet.technology. Therefore, please, treat this user as ttd@tweet.technology, which you'll see here. So that's how that's working. Now, this isn't a situation where all the identity providers have been managed on the Power Platform itself. Now, with these 2, there's no client IDs stored locally in the tenant, but with some of the others, there are. Does that answer your question?
It does, very much so. Thank you for giving us that visual representation of it.
No worries at all.
So we had another interesting question come through, and it was, how can I get a developer account? So me and Ian actually spoke about this when we were at the Norfolk Power Platform user group, and we are going to go through this now with Ian going on his fantastic whiteboard again. So he gets to show off that, and then he's going to talk me through it, and I will guide you visually on how to do it.
Sounds awesome. Yes. So let me show you. I'll quickly show you this web page. So if you go to the developer.microsoft.com website, you'll see that you can join the program. However, not many people are eligible. This program has really tightened up in the last year or 18 months or so because unfortunately people were misusing it, because you were getting an E5 tenant completely for free. And then people were doing, shall we say, not completely the right things they should be doing with a Microsoft tenant. So you can come here and you can see if you're eligible. You can also activate your Visual Studio benefits. So let me just kind of show you that, kind of draw that out for you. So if we look at this, we've got 3 options. So we want a developer tenant. Let's pick a color. What color should we pick? Quite fancy some orange. Okay, It feels developer-y orange. I don't know why. So we want a dev tenant. So you've got kind of the option of you can try signing up through developer.
See if you're eligible.
Microsoft.com. See if you're eligible. See if you can get in. If you've got a Visual Studio account, now they're not cheap, but if you do have Visual Studio, as in proper, you've paid for professional, you can get to it from the Visual Studio portal. So if you've got that, please go in, activate your benefits, because you also get free Azure credit as well. It's well worth it. There's plenty of stuff in there. So if you've got a Visual Studio professional account or an enterprise account, you get even more in enterprise. I unfortunately have only got a professional account, so or the way that everybody can get in is you take out an Office 365 trial.
Ooh.
Yes. Then what you do with your trial is you get 30 days.
Mm-hmm.
So you get 30 days to do stuff. And the first thing you do when you get in is you activate the free Power. So there's a free Power Platform license.
Mm-hmm.
So you can activate that, and that's free. So when you activate that, you can go in, you can create, 3 developer environments. Make sure you've got something running in them, because after 30 days, Microsoft just deletes them. But they're free. As long as you keep using them, they're yours forever. The one I do all my demos on this channel on. I have an environment for that. However, you do have to keep this Office 365 tenant alive. So how do you do that? One trick that I've seen people do, or one little, is to try to keep signing up for more trials. So when these 30-day trial ends, usually that trial is at the E level. So it's usually for an E3 or an E5 enterprise license. There are other trial licenses that are available within that portal. It changes all the time, but activate the trial. That's one way of doing it. So you just keep activating trial.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing you can do, if you're not comfortable doing that, or you don't want the headache, is you find the cheapest license you can.
Yes.
And you just buy that. Now, for a long time, it was the Exchange Online license, and I think it probably still is. This isn't a problem I have. I buy a Microsoft Partner license myself, so I get a load of licenses included in that. That package changes all the time, but I think it's currently like it's anyway. That doesn't matter. But find the cheapest license you can, and just keep buying that. Now, if that's £3.50 a month, that's the price of a coffee. So for the price of a coffee, you can have your own playground where you can play on the Power Platform far cheaper than you can by buying Power Platform Pro licenses.
Mm-hmm.
So let's give that a go. Let's see if we can make that work for Duncan here.
Yeah, let's have a go. So I was having a play while you were talking about it. Let's have a look. So I'll go into blank Google. What am I searching?
You are looking for Office 365 trial.
Yeah, Office 365 trial. It's family business standard.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Let's have a look. Right, for free. Oh, I get to solve a puzzle. Am I a robot? There is 2 taps.
I think these things get harder and harder for humans to solve, particularly when you're tired.
Yeah. Oh, especially the ones where it's like all the squiggly lines over the letters. I'm like, I can't read that anyway. I don't know how a robot's supposed to do it.
So my top tip here, because you're currently logged into my Tenant,
yes,
is to use a different profile in Chrome or Edge or Brave or Firefox, whatever your chosen flavor of browser is. Use a different. Don't do incognito because it causes trouble. Use a different profile.
Okay, let me do that. I'll stop sharing. I'll create a new one.
So yeah, so you got to solve another puzzle.
Yes.
And then you can select how many people it's for. 1's fine.
Let's go monthly. Click next. So nothing is charged today.
Yeah.
So let's add an email. I will do this off of enter your work or school email address.
So you want to do this ideally off a personal email account. You don't want to get it confused. It otherwise can cause all kinds of.
Yeah, let's actually go for my standard one.
Make sure everyone spams that email address from the channel.
Oh, of course. I get enough junk as it is. Looks like you need to create a new account. Let's get started. So set up account. So my first name, my surname.
So yeah, you need to add a payment method. Don't worry, you just make sure you cancel it off in your case before the 24th of June.
So we blocked out my payment information there. You didn't need to see that part, but you do need to put a valid payment method in. As you can see, it's still total today 0. So I'm going to click start trial. And away it goes, assigning me my licenses. Ooh. We have liftoff.
And then what we need to do is at some point in the future, you just need to manage the down. I'll show you where to do that.
Yep. All right, add security to your account. Here's my order number. Action required before you can start. You need to use multi-factor authentication.
Setting up the Authenticator app. You gotta love it.
Yep. So what do I do from this screen? Just start using it there?
Yeah, start using it, and then we can go to the next place.
Finish setting things up, shall we?
Okay. Do we just continue through all of these? You're not going to add any users because it's only you. So
yep.
What I'll do is I'll put a link down below of this video so people can sign up nice and easily.
Yeah. Okay, so good evening, Duncan Boyne. That is me. That's my user. What should we look at next?
So if you go to billing,
yep,
you should be able to see your licenses. So you currently got 24 in your trial. You can also click on your products. And this is where we can, yeah, that's free, that one. This is where we can get rid of it. But also, so if you click on those 3 dots, I think you can cancel it off with a set date. If you go up a little bit, edit reoccurring billing,
or cancel,
and cancel subscription. So off. So you're gonna let it expire. There we go. So that way you're not going to get charged that £11 straight away.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, just hit done on that and then go add more products. And this is where you can see what other products are available. And you know, there will be some in here that are trial. Exchange plan 1. We'll have a look to see how much that is. £3.26. I imagine there'll be VAT on that.
Mm-hmm.
But still, giving you access to a tenant. And of course, you could have that £3.26 with your own domain name as well.
Yes, you could.
You can add a domain on here. But you can look around here and you can see what licenses are cheap. Also, you'll notice you've got try for free.
Yes,
so that
on a
Teams
few,
license, you could try for free. Entry, you could try free. Power BI. So you can try stuff for free in here that will essentially extend your license. That's interesting. So Zoho CRM is listed in here, even though Microsoft sell Dynamics. I think that's quite an interesting point.
Yes.
But let's go and activate a Dynamics developer license. So if we click on that plus at the top, and we'll go and search for a Power Platform developer license.
Where did you say to click? Sorry.
Yeah. It might be under all products, but I've always found it by going on Google.
So let's go through this way. So we want a Power Platform, yeah?
Just select Power Platform, mate.
Oh, yeah. Brain. Oh, Microsoft Fabric for free. We have, let's have a look. Power Apps for User license. Trial available for Power BI.
There's another 11. We're after the developer license. That's the one we want.
Yeah, not on it. All right, let's go for Google.
Google's usually better.
All right, so what would you like me to Google?
Power Platform developer license.
This one?
Yeah. Yep, click on that. Start free. And what it will then do is it's asking you to type in. It'll just going to take you to a login screen if you're not already signed in. Because you are already signed in, it's just going to continue you on.
Yeah, let me just remember the actual email address I've used for this account.
Duncan Enterprises.
Yeah, of course.
219.
I know. I didn't change it. I
should have said that you're stuck with that now for life.
Yeah, well.
Okay, so it takes a little while for that to set itself up once you get it going. So if you go to admin.powerplatform.com, you should be able to get to it's now the new style admin center, so it's a bit green.
Ooh.
So you've now got your own Power Platform developer environment set up for you.
Wow. And all for the low cost of nothing so far. And if you want to continue it, you can go for one of those basic packages or keep trying to redo your trial period.
I'm not convinced, although I've never tested this, and maybe you should be the test and you can report back. If you don't buy a license and you just run with the Entra free license, which is always free, and if you run with the developer license from Power Platform, do they close down your tenant?
Oh, that is definitely something we can try and report back on. Yes.
Yeah. We've stopped you from being billed more money. At what point do they force you to buy an exchange license for £3.29 or whatever, ex VAT? But in here, sorry, Doug.
No, sorry.
I was going to say I could show you how to set up your own developer environment as well. So
let's do that.
All the way to the end. So if you click on Manage, we may have to assign a license to you, actually. So if we go back to, so one of the other tabs, you've got the Microsoft Admin Center open.
Oh,
not there. Yeah, this one. If you click on Users, and you should find yourself in the list. active users. It's click on you, manage licenses. Oh, you've already got it. So that's the license we're after. I mean, you've only got 10,000 of those licenses, so I'd be careful about who you give them to.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to have to be really stingy on that, aren't I?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll come back to here. So we're going to do a new environment.
Yep.
We're going to call
Give it
this
a name.
Platform Clinic. No, I'm not going to make it a managed environment. That's another question for another day.
The type you want to select is developer.
Yes.
Okay. Next.
Yes.
Just click on the back button. I think we missed the URL. Somewhere in here, there is the URL.
Nope.
It's somewhere. Oh, we can always change it later. One of my pet hates is...
Oh, here, correct.
Oh, there we go.
A unique domain name will be generated. Click here for a custom one.
Please set your own. It is my pet hate when people use the org and then a random set of numbers. The reason being is when you're looking at multiple orgs inside of XRM Toolbox, it's not very clear which one you are looking for. Because I mean, yeah.
Okay.
So you want to give it a name, I don't know, Duncan Power Platform Clinic or something like that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome. Oh, no. That's better.
And then just save.
Woohoo!
And that will take, a little while to provision, but that's it. As long as you do something with that developer license every 30 days, Microsoft aren't going to get rid of it.
Amazing. And that is a wrap on episode 4 of the Power Platform Clinic. I've had fun. I hope you have.
I have had a lot of fun, and I've got to play with my new toy, my new whiteboard.
New whiteboard, which will be in future episodes for sure. I know that for certain. But yes, thank you all for watching, and goodbye.
Yes, goodbye. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and stay safe.